I'd love to hear the story.
Yeah, it was a really interesting backstory where there were a lot of us in the DAO discussing just bond mechanisms. And I think several of us individually had thought of this concept where we could offer the bonding mechanism that Olympus uses to accrue its own liquidity and generalize it for other protocols. And when we kind of kicked around this idea, several of us in the DAO realized that we had independently thought of this and kind of just quickly threw a team together about 6 or 7 weeks ago and went from the ideating stage to, rapidly putting it together and reaching out to other, strong partner protocols like Alchemix and really working on putting this together to use this mechanism to help other protocols.
Cool. I mean, I noticed that like at least from us in Alchemix, like we were close to DeFi and stuff like that, and we saw the success of Olympus now, and started thinking like maybe protocol owned liquidity is a good idea. So it's sort of something like when we came to you guys about it, you already had the idea for Olympus Pro like in mind. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome hearing from your guys' side how you actually had thought of this as well. So it's awesome to collaborate.
I think actually all the launch partners, it was a fun activity to see that people were coming, well, had the idea separately, and we were just able to help get everyone going quickly. So I think Tex mentioned this materialized all in the course of like about 6 or 7 weeks here. So we're super excited to see the product live.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the elevator pitch for Olympus Pro? How is this going to help DeFi? How is this going to also help Olympus DAO?
Not me to go, Tex. Um, so the short of Olympus Pro, as Tex mentioned, is we are offering the bond mechanics to different protocols as a service. So we in that fashion also give engineering support, policy support, because these bonds aren't simple mechanics. They have a little bit of fine tuning to do as they go along to meet our partners' various target emissions and goals. So we're hoping to spread the bond mechanics and protocol owned liquidity throughout DeFi and enable people to get moving faster. Additionally, we're motivated to do this because for Olympus, we want to become the default uh, decentralized reserve currency for DeFi. And the more we can partner with other people and work together, the more we think we can amplify the flywheel that is decentralized finance.
Could you expand on the idea about being like the decentralized reserve currency?
Yeah, so I think all of us are familiar with DAI, maybe a few of us with Psi, and all the different stable assets that are available to use in this space. Um, the theory is that we need an asset that's unpegged to that is not pegged to the U.S. dollar and subject to whatever the United States is doing with regard to their currency. So at Ohm is a floating currency backed by the Treasury, and at the launch of the white paper, the idea is that one DAI backs one Ohm, and that's just the floor value. But now behind every Ohm is a set risk-free value of, I'm actually not even sure what is that today, but it's a basket of assets, including DAI, Frax, LUSD, Ether, and going forward here, now that we've launched Olympus Pro, we actually hold all of our partner governance tokens in our treasury as well. So Ohm, the token, is now also backed by all of our partners during this launch.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome for Ohm then. Yeah, I can see how Olympus Pro fits into those plans as being a, kind of like a generalized basket of, you know, crypto and DeFi. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're super super excited. And did anyone want to add to that from the Olympus side? I know there's a couple of us up here might have missed something there.
Um, so next question we have up is, and I think we've already kind of touched on it here, but maybe you guys can go in more detail, is what problem exactly does Olympus Pro solve?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've noticed whenever people have very heavy liquidity incentives on Pool 2 is that generally a lot of participants in liquidity farming will actually take their rewards and compound them into the pool in order to compound their interest. And um, over at Olympus DAO, we're super familiar with the power of compounding interest, but the negative side of this is it has some sell pressure on the token being offered as a reward. And if you look at the long term of liquidity mining incentives, usually there's a set date where the emission schedule runs out. And I think a lot of older protocols are kind of running up against this point this year, maybe next year, and we'll have to cross some bridge of deciding to go with the original emissions schedule or try and find some other mechanism to maintain their liquidity. But with this bonding mechanism, you can use those same emissions to, instead of renting liquidity, you actually essentially purchase that liquidity from holders at a discount, so still rewarding those same LP holders, but in exchange for permanent liquidity that the protocol controls. And in this sense, it's much more like owning your liquidity than renting it.
Mhm. Yeah, so it solves the sustainability problem. And I think like that's something that, we in Alchemix, we realized this was happening with our token. And, it's also you've seen it across DeFi, even something like, Sushi Swap, after having its initial highs in their or like post-launch moments and stuff like that, they then, faced a long, brutal period where their token price was suppressed by the emissions, to get all this liquidity and stuff like that. So, and the same thing was happening to other protocols as well, like Curve and Synthetics and others as well. So, seeing the same thing happening to us, and we're wondering like, how sustainable is it for us to be able to have all these liquidity pools and to offer this product if we're going to be, emitting so much that it's going to like depress the markets and things like that. So I was thinking, by sustainability thing as well, like, instead of like being at the end of your rope in 3 years, you're going to be in a really, really, really good position. And, you're going to have sustainable liquidity that's going to be able to service your product very well, and that's kind of what drew me into, trying to figure out a solution to it. And that's why, we talk to the Yunts a lot. We have, about some, different aspects. And I think like everyone kind of just like had that epiphany moment. It was like, oh yeah, let's talk to Olympus. So, and I think that, and that's why community should care. I mean, if you guys can expand on that, that would be cool too.
Yeah,
Kind of.
absolutely. We actually have one of our favorite yunts over on our team at Olympus is Jala, and
Mhm.
yeah, he's awesome. Always repping Alchemix, and yeah, just kind of love having that contact point with the yunts as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd add too, Scooby. There is, in addition to caring about the sustainability of your protocol, there's even more there with caring about like the user's experience as folks who have participated in pool 2 farming. I am one who has enjoyed liquidity mining over time, participated in DeFi Summer, et cetera, and um, you know, everyone likes getting free tokens. It's hard to say you don't, but we actually linked this document that Nansen put together about MasterChef, and you can actually see that most people don't stay in liquidity mining programs very long, and that's partially due to the impermanent loss. So what bonding kind of solves for, and I think Tex hasn't mentioned this point yet, that um, instead of having your users lock up their liquidity, or not lock up, but deposit their liquidity for some amount of time and then receive free tokens, they're throughout that whole process subject to impermanent loss, providing that LP position. So the bond mechanics actually help avoid that and mitigate the issue, because they'd be giving up the LP token, but instead receiving your Alchemix token for a lower price than at market. And that's That's pretty appealing because they can essentially roll these bond positions over and over and actually get a higher APR um, over the course of the emittance period in the bond program.
Yeah, totally. So wait, like you're saying it's people are going to come out ahead? What's the catch here? Buying tokens at a discount? It seems too good to be true.
Yeah, so I think if you played that was a good. I really enjoyed
That
that.
was cheesy. That was like the worst transition ever. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I enjoyed the segue. It's good. So so the main challenge here that for users is really getting educated around the bond program. It actually took our community quite some time to understand how they work. I think you guys just released a really good video about the generalized mechanics, but once you start participating, this is a market-based system. So you can't. It's unlike liquidity mining, which is pretty passive. You just deposit the LP, and then suddenly you have a bigger balance of tokens. In this fashion, you're getting Alchemix at a discount, and then um, it vests over about 7 days, and then you can come back and you can actually play this active game where you can roll that position. So let's say you get a 3 to 5 to 6% discount, and then you roll that week over week. That's actually really good. It's much better than just getting tokens for free. So um, it's an active strategy that requires a little more thought, and that I think that is the large part of the risk here, is getting educated and timing, and also being out the rest of the marketplace in it, because it's not just a free push the button get tokens type thing.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So there are some like more complex, like kind of like things going on because when you like take that discounted rate on getting ALCX through the bonds here, we also have our own single side staking pool for ALCX. So it's making around 64% APR. So that's going to be part of the calculus for people when they're deciding whether they want to bond or not. Okay, just trying to educate people on this. So if we take that, let's try to normalize like what's the optimal bond discount where you're not going to be falling behind being in pool one for ALCX. Give me 2 seconds. I'll calculate this. So you just like determine kind of like what the daily APR would be. So you just take the APR and divide it by 365. And then it's a 1 week vesting period. So you would times it by 7, which is a week period. And that would give you 1.2% APR for staking in the ALCX only pool. So if the discount is greater than that, you're going to come out ahead if you come in through Olympus Pro. But even then, it linearly vests the ALCX when it's coming out. So if your buy is big enough, you can take it out, and get it into that pool and then beat the rate even more. So there are some different ways you guys can play this to your advantage. At least that's the way I see it. You guys might be able to expand on some of the strategies because you've been deep in the weeds with the 3-3 and Olympus stuff and game theory there. So I'd like to hear you all kind of share your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like the basic way to beat the system, so to speak, is to find a bond that's greater than the 5 days or 7 day uh, ROI on staking. But what some people do in our community is that since the bond is vested over a 7 day period, they actually claim the uh, bond and then they actually stake it in the pool. So they kind of essentially get both, best of both worlds. And because of that, they can get even higher rewards on their ALCX. And that's called a 4-4 strategy for us.
Four
Did you say
four.
4-4?
Yeah,
Wow.
because
Wait,
in our game theory,
in the
bonding
4-5
is
the bonding.
yes,
Yeah, I think staking is 3-3, bonding is 1-1. So you just do the 1-1 to 3-3 strategy.
big brain mass, yes. But yeah, it is competitive in that sense because people see that and then it slowly causes the bond price to really approach that equilibrium. But it really depends on a lot of factors such as gas and their price, their size of their bond and whatnot. But yeah, a lot of strategies that can be used to gamify the system.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did notice in the audience there was one question that maybe we can clarify here while we're on educating on bonds. There was a question about what happens when two users go to purchase a bond at the same time. What happens? Maybe this would be a good question for Jeff to handle.
Yeah, yep. Thank you. So, one, if they have the same exact uh, price, the minimum price, which is basically sort of your slippage, the price that you don't want to go above, one will revert out. The problem could come in where, let's say, both are doing a max bond, and one of the first one that gets executed, is good, but then the second one has a really high minimum price where they just say, you know what, I don't care, I just want a bond. They could, instead of having that discount they thought they saw, actually bond at a premium. But through the front end, it's nice because it keeps it at a 0.5% slippage, which basically, if somebody bonds at the same time as you, or since you haven't refreshed the page, it'll just revert out. It'll give you, throw you an error, which is good because I think that's something that we see sometimes is people bonding at a premium, and that's either just because of being uneducated and just like not knowing. Um, but I think if that's been cleared up a little bit and it looks a little better through the front end, or maybe some people not knowing how the minimum price works and maybe interacting directly through Etherscan. But yeah, going through the front end in that case though, one of them would revert out, assuming that they have the same minimum price set.
That would just be Banteg, right? Interacting in Etherscan. What any loss?
I
It's also
don't know
for
if
all
the
you
bond.
people, all you loot right now. I know all you loot first folks are interacting with us on Etherscan.
Yeah, you got to know Etherscan. If you don't, you're not going to make it.
I
that
don't
was
know if
that
the
was
bunny
the whole loot
is
phase.
bonding yet.
Just a quick mention. Yes, we are going to be emitting a POAP after this. You don't have to do anything at this stage. All you have to do is listen. Everything else will be done, from your point of view at least, automatically.
So, yeah, Gorby's doing some magic behind the scenes, it appears. Thank you, Gorby. All
Now, I
right,
think
so
we had
what-
one hand up. It's
Use your hand. Sweet. All right.
new Discord user. Interesting to see who they are and what they've got to say.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right, come on up. Sweet.
Maybe he doesn't realize he put his hand up.
In the UX to click accept is also confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like slow. It's weird.
You could also just click it because you're really vibing with the talk.
Yeah. I'll assume it was a clap, and we can.
You can invite calls naked up.
Why not?
up.
That might change the tone of the discussion substantially. Let's
I
go.
welcome the chaos. I welcome the chaos. All right.
Okay. Do we actually have somebody who wants to come and ask a question? Or we'll just move on with some of the questions from the
This is some good
AMA
trolling.
chat.
Wheat and calls naked. All right.
I think
let's
one
move
of the
on. We can go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say one of the questions that maybe we didn't quite get to, which is coming up, is how is the discount on ALCX actually calculated for the bond? Maybe we can give this one over to Abby Pup.
We can't hear you. You're speaking.
Corgi
Abby
got
Pup?
lost.
No or Corgi? I can go about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
take this one,
Yeah,
Brian.
Awesome. Yeah, on a high level, very high level, essentially the bond price, we don't use oracles or any of that source for to determine the bond price. Essentially, we base it off demand. If there's more demand for bonds, a lot of people, if there's more people buying bonds, the bond price would be higher. And if there's less demand for bonds, the bond price would be lower. Going into that more deeply, we have something called a debt ratio, which basically tracks how much debt the protocol is in regards to the total supply. And then additionally, we have a scaling variable called the BCV, the bond control variable. And that essentially controls how fast or how volatile the bond price will be. And the BCB is what really the policy team at Olympus DAO really controls. We monitor that extensively with all our bonds and all the bonds on Olympus Pro to determine what's the best course of action to change those variables. Because making a significant change on that can definitely influence how it affects the market, because it changes how much tokens are emitted from the bond program. So one thing is that you don't want to emit a lot of tokens when there's a lot of sell pressure, because a lot of tokens mean a lot of sell pressure, which can hinder the protocol even worse. Or however, you don't want to emit too little tokens and not have a lot of liquidity gain from the bonds. So it's a very balancing act to determine the optimal point for that.
Yeah, definitely. And at a high level, basically that discount rate that you see on the front end will just slowly decrease until, or the discount itself will increase, but the bond price slowly decreases until someone thinks that that price is optimal for them. And when they purchase it, it actually pushes that price back up. So it's a truly dynamic price that's set by market participants. And that's where we were touching on the 7-day staking rate for ALCX, where the discount that you get should never really be any more than, I believe it was like 1.2% below the market price of ALCX, with some buffer on time preference. But I think it's going to work really great for Alchemix given the staking rate that you guys have.
Yeah, you guys have really efficient. You guys will have a really efficient bonds because of your low staking rate, which is really nice for you guys' emission schedule.
Paul's Naked's put his hand up again. Let's give him another shot. After that, Alanara, who's a well-known community member, we'll give him a go. Paul's Naked, you're up if you want to join this stage. And I'll invite Alanara.
There was one question that I saw about how much control Alchemix has over the BCV, and just want to take this time to mention that Alchemix actually owns the bond contracts, and so Olympus consults on this front, but you guys have full control over the parameters, and we will discuss on this in the future.
You can also confirm that on Etherscan. Going back to Scooby's point, it's if you read the contract, it says policy, and you'll see it's a multi-sig owned by the Alchemix team.
Yeah, Alanara, you're if you want to unmute yourself, you can
Good morning.
say good morning. Yes, Jim.
Yeah, good morning.
GM.
So I might have a stupid question here, but I'm just checking out the website, and I see that you can buy bonds with a vesting period of like 7 days. I was just wondering if there's a chance that there will be different bonds with a longer vesting period, but with a bigger discount. So, for example, maybe I want a bond for 30 days or maybe for a year, but I just want to stack some ALCX, so I would expect a bigger discount. Or does it not make any sense at all to have a different vesting period than 7 days?
This is an awesome question that kind of goes back to how the vesting period is actually determined. So the 7-day vesting period is mainly to keep those discounts down and make bonds more efficient. But the thing about different vesting lengths for bonds is this is something on our horizon for Olympus DAO to kind of experiment with a bit. And yeah, if any of our partners want to introduce different bond maturity lengths, that kind of delays any sell pressure on the discounted tokens, that would be something we're very open to. And I mean, this is all kind of a large economic experiment in some ways, and I'm just fascinated to see how this plays out. What do you think, Scoopy?
Yeah, I think in the parameters there was like a maximum discount, and there's also a period that you can determine how long the vesting period is for it. So, it's quite customizable, and we have a lot of giga brains in our community who come up with like lots of good ideas. So, I mean, if somebody has some ideas for different takes on the bonds, we can always add new ones, or we can change the parameters of the ones we have. We would just consult Olympus DAO along with it, because they have a lot more expertise in this field, as they've been doing this, for more than half the year, which is actually quite a lifetime in DeFi.
My question there is, if we wanted to try a longer period, would we have the option to do one of my favorite memes? Why not do both? Have a 1 week and a 1 month? Is that a possibility, or we have to change the single existing one?
You can deploy as many types of bonds as you want that are funded from the same treasury contract. So it would actually be pretty simple to deploy.
Yeah, okay. All right. No, that's good to know. So we can have two in parallel, basically.
Yeah, and it would fund from the same treasury contract. That's correct, right, Jeff?
Yes, yep, that is correct. And yeah, at that point it'd just be about adjusting the numbers to match it. But no, I mean I do like that idea. Does give it more some more options there. And I know that was something like Tex was saying, that we are exploring and thinking about. And it would be it's always great to have some sort of longer vesting period. Even my personal thinking is, even if you know because the max bond size is relatively small, might be like 16, 17,000. And even if you have 8% discount, if you just want to expand it out over, you know do basically 4 bonds, that go for a month. Well, it's just me. That's just me rambling. But yes, that is right, Tex.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. And just to plug Jeff real quick, the humble man himself here, we've got the author of Olympus Pro contracts. So big ups to Jeff over here.
Thank you, sir.
Good work, sir.
Yeah.
Now, Calls Naked's been up for a little while. Do you want to unmute yourself and say g'day, ask your question?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool. Only took a few tries, but thanks for having me up. I just wanted to ask a question about kind of the credit risk revolving around bonds. Like, it seems almost too good to be true. First of all, big fans of OHM and Alchemix. So, just from like a high level, like, what's the main risk that we should be looking out for when it comes to minting bonds, as well as minting bonds that you guys partner with? And I'll just kind of end it there, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
You want to take this one, Glue?
I'm actually I'm curious. When you're inquiring about credit risk, like, what does that center around? Like, what is your main concern when asking that?
So if I'm minting a bond, and 5 days later, is it 100% reliable that I'm going to get it at the mint price? And if not, like, what's the long tail risk that something happens that would risk me lending money to the protocol and not getting vested over 5 days?
Yes, the way that the system's designed, and Jeff can probably back me up here. The way the system's designed, the treasury is funded by Alchemix, and they have sent over the token. So when you execute the transaction, it's looking at the totality of the system. So I don't see any risk in that fashion. If you purchase the bond and invest over 7 days, you will be paid out the tokens because they exist inside of the treasury.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is true.
Yes, that is right. Yep. So basically, if the transaction would fail, if there wasn't enough funds in the treasury to actually pay out that bond, that transaction would fail at the time of trying to execute, because basically the treasury facilitates the payout tokens, which in this case is Alchemix. So when you bond, it'll basically just send those payout tokens to the bond contract. So then they're yours at that point after the vesting period is up on a linear vesting schedule. So
Basically, you're not minting, like you're not printing a new asset to get paid out later. It's there already, and it's just transferring from treasury to bond contract. Did that help, Called Naked? Sorry if it felt like that was
No,
unclear.
no, all good. Do you guys mind if I ask one more question?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand the correlation between the bonding service and also the staking service. So I understand the concept of the reserve currency and everything, and I understand the risk. There's the risk-free rate or risk-free value of the treasury, and there's obviously a premium to the risk-free value of the treasury right now. And from my understanding, the premium off the risk-free value of the treasury kind of relies upon supply and demand, as well as like traditional market dynamics. um, how does the bonding versus staking factor into the supply and demand aspect when you look at the risk-free value of the treasury versus the actual price of OHM? If that's not even a valid question, let me know. But it's a great protocol, guys. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So I'd appreciate any insights there.
Yeah, definitely. A short answer for this one, just for Olympus DAO, not so much for Olympus Pro, but the way that I conceptualize it is when you sell a bond at that premium, the difference between the market price and risk-free value is essentially the amount of ohm that you can print in the future to distribute to stakers. So the mental model for it is any premium that it's trading above risk-free value is some expectation of future returns based on that premium being redistributed to stakers in the future. Does that make sense as a short answer?
Yep, that makes sense. And I assume that it would work the same way with Alchemix whenever you mint an Alchemix bond.
It might be slightly different, given that this question does center around some of the mechanics of Olympus, but I would definitely invite you to join Olympus DAO server and would be happy to chat there.
Sweet, that sounds good. Thanks, guys. I'll head off the stage.
Good
Great
question,
questions,
sir.
by the way. Yeah, that was awesome.
0x019291Z.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me up here on stage. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Great. So, quick question for you guys, and this may be more just around Olympus DAO versus the Alchemic side. When you go and you're actually purchasing for the bond, how are you making the decision around what to put inside of it? Are you guys doing it on discretionary side? Are you systematic trading? How are you making those decisions? Do you have people writing strategies up? It'd be good to understand that.
Yeah, so I think what we've found a lot of times, and this does cross over to Olympus Pro, is that the set of market participants who actually are active in purchasing bonds versus just staking is a slightly different set of people. And we expect that there will be market participants in Olympus Pro who just look at the largest discount and snap that up, given the 7-day maturity for bonds. And so in this way, our marketplace for our partners' bonds, we expect our community members to actually help maintain the efficiency of bonds by keeping those discounts lower because they're enticed seeing larger discounts.
Mhm, mhm. That makes sense. So I get that regarding like what bonds to buy, but I'm saying actually like how Olympus DAO decides what assets to put inside of a bond.
I think so. Yeah, to clarify here, Tex, I think we're talking about why we select specific treasury assets. If you want to go into
Yes.
that,
Oh,
since you've been
gotcha.
leading up that activity.
Oh, yeah. So basically, what we actually do to evaluate different treasury assets is we have two categories of treasury assets. One is stable assets that are, US dollar pegged or potentially in the future other fiat. And then we do have our volatile assets, which right now is just ETH. And we kind of assess these assets on a range of different metrics. I kind of baselined off of some of the credit risk metrics that Aave uses in its risk analysis. And we assess these different assets based on a lot of fundamentals, but as well as how decentralized is it, and how free from smart contract risk is it, what's the market cap, its trading volume, on-chain liquidity, and we kind of rank them along these metrics, and then kind of discuss internally as a team what are the pros and cons of this. To use an example, the most recent asset that we added was LUSD. Not ALUSD, but Liquidity LUSD, only because one of the things that came up a lot from our side was that we have a huge chunk of DAI, and there's a lot of people calling it wrapped USDC. I'm not sure if I agree with that 100%, but it is a valid concern, and so we wanted a pure ETH collateral as a treasury asset, and that, along with another set of factors that I mentioned previously, kind of kicked Liquidity LUSD to the top of the line there.
Hmm. That makes sense. And so effectively it's stable coins plus ETH. And so with that said, two questions to follow up on that. When, do you guys have plans in the future to add additional assets like BTC potentially to it? And then two, do you ever think about opening up that decision-making pool to like the DAO in total or in general, or, how do you think through making those decisions in the long term?
So as far as other volatile assets, BTC has definitely been on our radar. We have some really cool community members who have been heading up that analysis of like different BTC flavors. And I actually think he might be in the audience here. It's irc.ohm. Big shout out to the OMI here. But yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into that decision making. And as far as opening it up to the community, I think that that is probably a good strategy long term. And especially since we're pursuing on-chain governance soon, TM. But right now, I think there's a lot of shepherding that's being done on the working group side of things. So yeah, I do see it being on the horizon.
Makes sense.
Hey, I
Thank
wanted
you
to
very
actually add one thing to Texas' point here into that question. You asked when adding more assets or how we're doing it. Olympus Pros actually, to tie it back into this AMA, is actually part of that strategy. So you can almost think of Olympus Pros as like incredibly slow treasury diversification event, specifically for Olympus, because I'll post our Etherscan, but if you check out the tokens in our treasury now, we're holding the Alchemix token, Pendle, Convex, Spell. I'm missing someone. We're holding all of our partner tokens from
And
this.
Staked out.
It's and staked out. Sorry, my bad. and so it's really exciting to see Olympus Pro go into effect, because this is also part of that strategy. To your point.
Yep. Yep, that makes complete sense. Those partnerships, the BD that you guys do, allow you to grow into other assets as well, and generate just overall enterprise value. Well, thanks a ton for answering my questions, and shout out to all the OMIs. Bought your token yesterday and a big fan of what you guys are doing. Thanks for having me up here.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
0x19. I'll send you back to create some room. Biddles, you're up, bro.
There's a lot of people talking about basically this entire system just being more ways to dump ALCX, and I think a lot of people aren't very happy with kind of they're running out of opium, let's say. And I'm just hoping that maybe you can provide some clarity as to exactly how, what happens to the LP tokens once you receive them, and what you're expecting people to do with their ALCX tokens, and how you've kind of modeled it all out, and also about the token emissions rate, because I think some people are thinking that you've actually just increased the emissions rate to fund the Olympus Pro stuff. Can you talk to that, please, and provide some clarity?
Yeah, I mean, I think when this is going to be happening, we're structuring it in a way where the LP tokens that we get, we're going to be putting into our own pools. So essentially, a lot of the ALCX that was going to be going out, to mercenary capital is going to be recaptured by the DAO, which would then be able to fund more bonds in the future and things like that. And if we're the ones holding, all this ALCX in the market and providing liquidity, and people know that the liquidity providers are not going to dump, but anyone else they can freely sell it, but it's going to give people a lot of confidence. It's also going to allow us to grow as a protocol, because we're going to have some kind of guaranteed liquidity backstops for not only just ALCX, but for the AL assets as well, because we're going to be expanding the bonds to include the ALUSD3 curve pool tokens, the ALETH, the various ALETH markets that we have, and any other future like AL assets. So as these pools of liquidity grow, it's going to allow us to expand the debt caps. It's going to allow us to grow as a protocol and get bigger and bigger, which is going to then eventually trickle down to ALCX holders. So I think it's actually very long-term bullish, and it's going to stymie a lot of the sell pressure, in my opinion, especially since the people who are going to be buying the bonds, probably be a little bit more long-term investor oriented than people who, would rather trade on Sushi Swap or another exchange.
Okay. And then also, shit.
Have a think about it. We'll bring
Yeah, thanks.
we'll let, yeah.
People can't hear me apparently. Oh boy.
I think maybe one of the questions that was related, Biddles, I don't know if this was what you were thinking about, but I saw a question of, does Alchemix plan to stake its LP tokens in your liquidity mining reward program?
Yeah, that
Yes,
was
Scoopy
a
answered
part
that.
of the
Yeah.
proposal, that we would be staking those. And then and the cool thing is that, especially with the ALUSD3 curve tokens, we'd be earning CVX and curve by doing that. So then that would allow us to use those tokens to get us more voting power inside Curve, which would allow us to have more sustainable rewards from Curve. So I think that's also a pretty cool part of the strategy there.
I remembered my question. When you launch new vaults, for example, ALBTC after the V2 launch, and then whatever we do into the future, do you think that depending on how this bonding stuff goes with Olympus, we'll actually just launch straight to this program instead of having liquidity mining?
We would probably do like a hybrid approach in the future. I'm just kind of speculating here, where we would have some of the initial liquidity mining and also have a bond program going on simultaneously, and then kind of slowly ratchet away from liquidity mining into more protocol-owned liquidity. I think that's probably the better way to do it. Once we build up a certain base, we might even still keep, liquidity mining still kind of perpetually going on to have people participate in the protocol and earn that way. Because I do like that aspect of liquidity mining, by performing a service for the DAO that you'll get rewarded for it. I do like that very much, but it also attracts, a lot of mercenary capital at the same time. So, we're trying to just balance that a little bit.
Okay.
There was one question, Biddle, sorry, that I wanted to jump in on top of Scoopy's that he was answering there, and it's a scenario where a few folks have wondered, why can't DAOs, instead of participating in Olympus Pro, just say, oh, I'm gonna sell half of our DAO funds and pair it and then create liquidity. I think if you ever looked at a project that was like, well, I'm just going to sell half my funds, I think it would really, you could lose a lot of confidence in those folks because that just feels like, well, they're willing to just give up their tokens to do something. In a scenario where that makes sense. And then the other side of that is by offering the bond program, you're actually distributing your governance token out to more people because those are the folks, as Scooby mentioned, that are looking for the long-term success of your protocol. And I think that that's an important aspect of thinking about the bond program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had a question specifically about Alchemix bonds, but I mean, it could apply to most of the own bonds as well, other own bonds. As far as like Zapper integration, I saw that as a question in the AMA, and I was like, oh, that's a great question, right? Instead of, buying the SLP and then, going in and selling the SLP, just zapping straight from ETH to, bond. Thoughts on that?
I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but I'm not sure exactly how the Olympus Pro contracts are built, so I'll defer to the Olympus team on that.
So the question there was to just zap directly into the bond of interest, right?
Right.
So again, yeah, it's the later part of the meeting, so it's the alpha league. Yeah, we are working on building that out right now. So yeah, we're excited on the Olympus side. It should be transferable to the Olympus Pro contracts as well. It's actually not Jeff working on that; it's our back end team. So of course, there might be a POAP and might be a little alpha there.
Ooh, alpha
Hey,
leaks.
appreciate it.
I've bookmarked that part of the
Thanks
recording.
for the question,
Liz.
emoji dude. I don't know how to say.
We don't have any requests outstanding at the moment, so we might want to have a look at the actual written
Don't play
requests in
games.
the panel.
Don't
Emojis.
game.
Don't play games. Not a game, whichever one you want to.
No
thanks,
playing
guys.
aliens. Thank you for the question. That was good.
Cool. All right, that sounds pretty awesome. So let's look through the Discord to see if there's any other questions that we haven't gotten to yet. Seems to be people complaining about Discord stage.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is there. We've got 175 people listening.
Maybe it's too many.
Someone asked for the Clubhouse. Someone asked for the manager. Gorby, would that be you?
I don't run Discord, no. I'll run this Discord, but yeah, if one person can hear, then we should all be able to. The only thing I can think of is locality. I can possibly change the region for the actual channel. That's.
Oh, I actually got a question here. And I'm not really sure if I have an answer for it. Sorry to cut you off there, Gorby. Saying, I'm wondering thoughts on the emissions rates for the LP pool and single-sided staking. Will it make sense to adjust these emission rates to incentivize single-sided staking? And the thing is, I think we want to have I don't know, it's tough. I'd like to hear what the community thinks about it. If anybody, from the community wants to say their piece, that would be cool. You can come on the stage. I invite you to do that. My thinking is sort of, if we have a lot, let's say we increase the weight going to the ALCX only pool to get its APR up, to encourage people to get out of pool 2 and into pool 1. By having the bonding program with Olympus Pro, it would give people an outlet to get over there. That would be beneficial for Alchemix. But at the same time, it might cause there to be a high discount rate, because if that pool is getting a higher ROI, then you would have to purchase the bonds at a greater discount in order to get it. So there's like a lot of kind of variables that we would have to think about in order to really like, do these things right.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think you guys still have some leeway in between your staking rate and our ridiculous APR, but yeah, it's definitely something cool to think about from our partner's perspective with a bond program.
Yeah, right now, like if you're getting above 1.2% discount at Olympus Pro, then you are definitely coming out ahead in terms of inflation. But yeah, so it's going to be something that I'm sure that we'll engage with our community about, and also with you guys and consult you all over at Olympus Pro. So maybe we can fine tune some things here and there, but no promises. But we can explore it for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome watching your guys' bond program so far. I think it's only been up for a couple hours and you're already at $36,000 of liquidity accumulated.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's see. Gets into it. So
this AMA is set to the automatic region. Now I can change it to US East, but that may actually break the whole thing. Shall we try it or not?
I think I got to jump at the hour, so I don't know if 3 minutes is worth.
yeah, it seems more like the Discord AMA questions has just turned into shit posting. Anyway.
Yeah,
Guys,
I noticed that too.
Guys, like the bomb.
Please
Best
ask
thing.
questions. I'm going to start deleting Karen posts.
I did notice one thing that I thought was kind of cool. We touched on it about how owning your own liquidity for Alchemix will actually allow you to earn trading fees on those pairs. But one of the things that we've found with launching bonds is that as you actually have the dynamics of people purchasing the other side to pair with liquidity, it actually kind of juices volume on the trading pair as well. So I think that will be one metric to look at in the coming weeks is how the trading volume on the ALCX ETH pair actually increases over time. So that should be pretty cool and give you a higher return on your LP that Alchemix owns.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to change the region to US East. All right. If this breaks it, I apologize in advance. You may not notice a thing, however.
Sick.
Hold up.
There
Can you
was
give
one
us a
question
count,
I just.
Corby? Oh, you saw another good question? Sorry, the Discord's kind of going crazy. So is someone getting paid in ALCX or LP tokens? They are getting paid in ALCX.
And that goes into the part where I mentioned that's why it's a diversification event. So very, very important fact that we get paid in the partner token.
And then it becomes part of the backing of Ohm. And the whole idea for us is we will diamond hands your ALCX.
Yes. Well,
Okay, I'll switch to US East. I don't know if that's made it worse or better for anybody.
I'm still
I didn't
here.
notice anything.
And
Hey,
So
welcome
from
back,
the
Alunara.
ALCX's
Hey.
perspective, is the ideal to achieve 100% LP ownership? I don't know if we want to get to 100%. I don't know if it's going to be likely that we're going to be able to get to 100%. It might take us many, many years to get to that point. But I still like the idea of people being able to get in and participate through liquidity mining. I definitely like liquidity mining. I've been doing it since it was even called yield farming, like back in when Synthetics was doing it just by taking snapshots of who was in Uniswap. So I've been a big fan of this new paradigm. So I don't want to get rid of it completely. I don't know. Ultimately, it'd be up to the DAO and what we decide and what our goals are. So that'll be that. I'm just one humble servant of the DAO. So can't hear, done shitposting. Can anybody hear me? Is everyone hearing me?
Yeah, I can still
Speak
hear
up
you.
if you can't hear Scoopy.
Yeah.
Some people can't hear me. Okay, wonderful.
If you can't hear Scoopy, can you hear me?
Gorby, you
Thumbs
answer
down.
all questions.
Scoopy, do you want to? So is the problem only with Scoopy? Yeah, Harry said you can leave quietly and enter again. Give that a shot. What I'm interested to know is if you can't hear Scoopy, is Scoopy the only one that you can't hear? Yeah, I really believe mobile phone is the issue. I agree with that.
Oh.
And there's an option somewhere on the UI of the mobile. Somebody actually, I didn't know
I'm
this. Somebody
back.
said that they actually allowed
Is
voice.
it better? Can people
Don't
hear?
know. It'll take
Scooby's
time.
talking. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes. Can you?
All right.
Wait,
So some people
oh.
can hear
All right.
me.
Okay, well, there's a recording, right? Right, Corbin? So we're
There is
good.
a
I'm talking,
recording, and
still
we're going to
talking.
edit
Okay,
this
anyway.
part out.
Technical difficulties. Gotta love it. I think we should do Twitter Spaces next time.
We might give it a shot.
That seemed to work
I'm
better.
just trying to find out if it's with individual clients or not.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Eleonora.
Now I can't
speak
hear
up.
anybody else on the stage. This is hilarious.
Yes. Are we good with the technical issues?
I don't know.
Either way, I haven't given this much of a thought, but we're currently also handing out ALCX rewards for our stable pools. So I don't know if this makes any sense, but would it be also logical to offer bonds for our stable pools, which give ALCX, like the curve pool or the saddle pool, or both maybe?
Yeah,
Or
that was the point. I think I touched on that. Maybe you didn't hear me.
Oh.
LOL.
I'm sorry, you were
Yeah,
saying.
we're gonna be buying the liquidity tokens from like also the 3 curve pool and the ALETH pools and stuff like that. So and future liquidity pools as well. We'll just add it to the bond program. So it doesn't make sense if we have this tool not to use it to have more sustainable liquidity because we don't want to build something that's just going to be a flash in the pan for a couple years and then just like fades away and is long forgotten. We want something that's going to last and be built for decades. Because people want to use it as a reliable financial platform, and that's what we want to do. And I think this is going to help us get there.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I can expand on that a bit more because, like, Alchemix at its core, like, we're not just like a yield farming platform. We are, a way for you to finance your money in a different way. You can put your DAI in, borrow ALUSD, and that debt you have just goes away over time, and that frees up your money while you still have your savings. And we have to facilitate that liquidity for when people borrow it, so they can turn it into something useful. And that's why liquidity is so important to Alchemix. And I think, that's why there's such strong alignment with, bonding and everything like that, because ultimately we want to bring a product that people use and use to benefit their lives and improve their lives. So that's how I stand, on this whole bond program. That's why I'm pumped for it.
Likewise, and just for everyone to know, it was we were the roadblock to not launch with all the bonds. We wanted to just
All right.
we want to.
Anybody else want to join the stage?
Sorry, Glue, you were talking?
Yeah, wait, can Scoopy
I
not hear
can't
me
hear any of the Olympus crew if you guys are talking.
Why does this happen?
now? I'll just finish my sentence there, and if someone tells Scoopy when I'm done. So the one thing is that that was us. We wanted to launch with one bond just to get the program rolling, and we'll be rolling out the remaining bonds that Scoopy mentioned here.
I'm gonna ping them.
in the near term. I actually have to jump, so I appreciate the time today, guys, and thanks, Corby. Hopefully, we
Okay, great.
resolve the Discord challenges.
Well,
Have a good one.
yeah, it should it should all be in the recording, but yeah,
I don't even
Scoopy.
hear Gorby either. This is weird. So when I joined,
kidding me?
I left and rejoined, I killed everyone else's audio. What?
I swear this is not my fault. I didn't do this. How many people have got? 170 people. No one here, Scoopy, right? Can't hear anybody else part of this. Yeah, okay. I don't know what to say to that. It's very hard to get a handle on who can hear what and who can't. But
I
yeah.
can hear. I don't know if you can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
If an Olympus DAO member falls in the forest, does anyone hear them?
Maybe. We are being recorded, so that should be fine. But look, does anybody? Oh, okay, Chikingo, let's get you up here and see if anybody can hear you. Come on up. Oh, okay. So Discord is basically being a mess. All right. Next AMA is probably going to be on Twitter.
Well, I personally can't wait. This was a great AMA. You guys were excellent hosts. Really enjoyed the discussion.
I was enjoying it up until people started telling me that they couldn't hear people. That's frustrating. I'm just wondering if we should persist. Can I have somebody put their hand up just to see if we can hear you? Volunteer Biddles, you can join if you're Alana is gonna come on up.
I'm up. Can people hear me this time?
I can.
Okay, thank God.
Okay, let's get a whole bunch of people here and see if we can break this thing. Everybody say hello.
Hello. Corby,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been able to hear everything the entire time, so everything's going to be in the recording.
Awesome. We'll edit the I can't hear you bits out. So we can continue as long as Scoopy myself. And so I don't know if it's I hope to God that it's not my problem. And no, I've forced the hosting to US East. So yeah, if you can hear me, it's not my computer. I'm talking to you from Antarctica via Starlink. Should be fine.
Like, it was so funny. I thought I said something that was like, fucking hype, and then like there was just crickets. I'm like, what's going on? No one said anything.
Nobody hear you the entire time. So yeah, I don't know if it's people on phones, people in Bulgaria. It's anyway. We can do a postmortem on that later. Have we got any other questions for the sake of the recording? Any other legit questions in the actual question channel?
Yeah, there's a very interesting question. So Dixie's asked me to say "you what, mate" in British. I'm a British
Okay,
accent, so
that wasn't
there
a
you go.
legit question.
Oh, that was 100% legitimate.
I disagree, and I'm now dragging you off the stage, kicking and screaming.
You what, mate?
You what, mate?
Swear on me,
All right.
mum.
Do we have any more questions?
Non-British people doing British accents is so funny. It's brilliant.
I'm literally scrolling through questions about Karen managers, memes. Jesus. What part
You're right,
of
mate.
ask questions in
You
here?
wanna go, love? You wanna go? I'll have you fun. Don't worry about it. Like,
Okay. Olympus guys, have you got any extra info that you want to share before we just burn this AMA down?
I think just really appreciate the talk, guys. Everyone can go over to olympusdow.finance, check out the pro link, and see the ALCX bonds live today and snag you a discount.
I had a question about the OMIs. Like, are the OMIs usually like mostly based out of the country, out of the US? My fault. I don't mean to be US centric.
We're kind of distributed all over the place. We've got a bunch of European OMIs, several Australian ones, but yeah, there are quite a few in the US as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Scoopy, if you're still on the same Wavelength. I'm just scrolling up and seeing if we've missed any questions.
It was shit posting all the way up and all the way down, Gorby.
I
Don't worry about
know.
it.
I know.
I did try to answer some questions whilst you guys were talking anyway, so it should be minimal.
Did somebody say something about Zappa and whether or not Olympus Pro can help facilitate some of those
Yeah,
contracts?
that might or might not have been alpha leaked earlier.
Okay.
I think I see a question from Overqualified.
Okay. Does he want to jump on up, or does he want to? Somebody want to read that?
I think I see this one as well, where it's does the size of the bond affect anything? This is a really cool question because how we mentioned earlier that the bond price is dynamically set by the market. If you purchase a small bond size, it pushes the price up a little bit. But if you purchase a max bond, it will actually push the price up a lot. So you can go to some of our Dune dashboards for Olympus and win Alchemix Dune dashboards. I promise, soon TM.
Yes, that's correct. Size always matters. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
Is it like
is that something
like-
you'd consider doing in small steps? For example, if you're going to do, I don't know, 10 something, is it cumulatively the same doing 4 times 2.5 as doing it in one full 10 size hit? Or is it non-linear? You know what I'm saying? Like playing with slippage on a AMM.
Yeah, I think from an individual user's perspective, you would always want to purchase, if you want that discount, you would always want to purchase the maximum available to you given the discount, because when you purchase at a smaller amount, it will actually push the price up. And whether it's linear or not, we'll have to defer to Jeff on that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. The in terms of the just vesting. Sorry. Yeah. Vesting is linear.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. It's more along the lines of if you purchased a 10K bond at a 5% discount, could you actually, if you purchased 4 2.5K bonds, would the premium be the same at the end? Actually, I think the premium would be, but the discount that you would receive as a user would actually be much smaller because the discount would get smaller as you purchased each bond.
Yes. So yeah, it gets smaller as you purchase each bond. Yeah.
Like if you're going to buy a whole wad of stuff on some AMM, the curve and it says, oh, for that size order we anticipate, I don't know, 7% slippage. You'd sort of go, oh, maybe I should buy, a tenth of what I want to ultimately get now, wait a little bit and then continue. You know what I mean? I suppose it depends on what happens if you're buying the bonds. It does depend on what happens on the market after your smaller portion is bought. Yeah, it's the same sort of mechanism, I'm guessing.
I guess it's kind of like X times Y equals K, like for the uni sort of V2 contracts, right?
Well,
the more
that's
you
what I'm
pump
asking.
into
Is
the
it the
X,
same
the
thing?
less Y you'd get.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Yeah,
to an
and
extent.
so basically, I think it takes time to refill the discount almost, if you want to mention it like that. I guess you then have to wait for it to, discount itself further, and then you could go back in, I suppose, to just spread it out.
Basically, you're better off just buying all at once, right? Because the price doesn't change for you; it changes for the next person that buys. I get that right? Like.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Like it's better to buy a bond all at once rather than do it in chunks. That's actually one of the reasons why Olympus itself has like a max payout, because if it's a 10% discount, you don't want somebody being able to do $5 million. Like they have to at least do it in increments, so they don't get so the BCV actually goes up a little bit.
Okay, so there's a hard cap, which doesn't affect price. It's just literally a cap.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a cap, and once and that's just the max payout that you can receive for any one bond.
Yeah.
And there's a few reasons that that's in place, because of the emissions, and also just because you don't want somebody eating up X amount, like a huge portion at a huge discount. They at least need to, raise the BCV a little bit. I'm sorry, raise the debt a little bit, in turn raising the price before they can bond again.
And if you wanted to see like the max for you, you would go to for example Alchemix, right? You go to Pro Olympus Dow Finance. You click the Alchemix ETH SLP bond, and then you'd go down and you'd look at the max, right? So for the max for me, I see like 85 Alchemix. So that's the max amount that I can purchase in bonds, right?
Correct. I believe
But is that per person, per individual,
per bond.
or per bond? Yeah, right.
Oh, so I could buy that max, then do another buy for the max again.
Yes, but more than likely it's gonna, like, even if it's like a, well, no, I think for Alchemix it was like a 5% discount, user discount. If you but did a max bond, it would go to like a 2% premium almost. So you could, if you wanted to bond at a premium, but yeah, when you max bond, it'll take up the whole discount, more than likely, unless it's like a 10% discount.
All right. Has anybody actually posted a question in the AMA chat that hasn't been answered? Please answer in the AMA chat, because there's a reasonable chance that we won't hear you if you get up on the stage anyway, but you can have a go at getting up on the stage as well. And stop posting memes. I want questions now. Otherwise, we're going to end the call.
So in the meantime, I'll just ask another question, which is for the Alchemix team, which is regarding governance. Are we going to allow bondholders to vote on snapshot votes? Because I can foresee some difficulties because of the vesting period. Because I normally think you just whitelist the token and token holders can use their tokens to vote on snapshot. But because of the vesting difficulties, you might not get a complete picture of how many bond or how many ALCX a user has bought. So you don't know the actual voting power if we're going to allow them for governance voting, unless you actually check how much they have already vested or not.
I would think that this might not be possible since the bond information is stored in state, so that might be a little too complex for snapshot. There's no tokenized bond position.
So if you do buy bonds, if you have SLP right now and you switch them over to bonds, you do essentially lose governance power.
Yeah, I think the bond sizes are relatively small, so you shouldn't lose a huge chunk. But yes, the answer I think would be yes.
Okay.
Who gets that governance power while you're staked? Is that Alchemix itself, the DAO?
Well, the ALCX itself is in the bond contract, so it sits in the treasury contract, which is controlled by Alchemix, and then when a user purchases, it actually moves the ALCX into the bond contract that eventually pays out for the user.
Yeah, I just posted the contracts. It should be in there now. Yeah, you can see towards the bottom, there's Olympus Pro Treasury and Olympus Pro ALCX bond. If any of you sleuths want to check out what the Treasury is doing, how much funds are in there, that's where the address is, full transparency. Okay, so it's all in there. What is ALCX desired ratio of Olympus bonds versus tokamak reactors? I think it's, this is kind of like a big experiment, and we're going to find out, what the right balance is between everything. In the proposal for our tokamak reactor, we said that 5% of the weekly liquidity incentives are going to go towards the tokamak reactor by being able to stake the TALCX tokens. That's if we get a reactor. But I do like our chances, even though we're not in the top 5 right now. I do like our chances. Shh.
Shush.
Let's see. I mean, we're doing 5% at first, and we're going to analyze and look at the data and find out, what's the cost per liquidity using tokamak versus using liquidity mining versus using Olympus DAO, and we'll fine tune our systems so we'll have the best mix of the three for the health of the protocol.
Fiat on ramp. That landscape is changing all the time. And it also depends on what country you're in as well. Things move very, very quickly in crypto and even more quickly in DeFi. So is the chance more than 0? Yes. Is it a definite? Not this year. Don't count on it being this year.
Butler has an interesting question. So, is Olympus Pro composable and extensible? What happens to bonded LP positions? Are they sent directly to the treasury?
The LP tokens themselves are sent to the treasury contract that you linked in the contract list, but then you can actually pull those LP tokens back into the main Alchemix treasury at your discretion.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Gorby.
Sure.
What?
Olympus DAO guys, can you hear Gorby?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can hear him.
Okay.
Oh, I muted myself, and you can still hear me. Damn.
No, but nothing can shut you up, Gorby.
So it appears. Seriously.
Okay. I think unless there's some more questions anybody else has, so we could probably wrap this up tonight. Or it's tonight for me. It's this morning for all you Americanos. Oh, POAP. Spill the beans. What is this POAP thing? Well, how's this going to work?
POAP, all attendance to this, as I mentioned before, invoice and also in general and also in the questions channel. If you attended this AMA, your attendance has been recorded. When you joined, when you left, we will crunch the numbers and we will send out individual links to claim the POAP. The only thing I ask you to do is to stay a member of the Alchemix Discord. Otherwise, the bot will not be able to DM you.
So we're going to be a Discord spammer. Nice.
We will be.
I've heard,
but we'll
I've
be
heard
doing
this
it in-
promise of NFTs before.
We'll
I've
be
heard the
doing
promise
this.
of
We'll be
NFTs
doing
before.
this. We'll be doing this in a way that doesn't break the Discord terms of service. Okay.
Okay.
I will type that up in the channel when people, even though somebody turned slow mode on, when things slow down in the channel, I will write up exactly how it's going to behave. How we achieve that is yet to be determined, but there's a couple of good candidates. So yes, you'll get your POAP. If that's all you came here for, then sorry, not sorry. You should have listened.
Chill, take a chill pill, bro. I don't think people would be here for an hour and a half just for a POAP. All
I don't
right.
know. One guy's been DMing me constantly the entire time, but we won't say who that is.
I'm only here for the POAP, guys. It's me DMing Gorby.
It's like text, do the Alchemix AMA. No, I don't want to do it, but you'll get a POAP. Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll be right there.
It's a pretty cool looking POAP.
Yes, it is.
Any other burning questions on your end, Scoopy?
Unless there's something else from the audience, I don't really see people. It's just mostly shit posting at this point. I think we're good. I'm pretty good on this. Like I said, like we're gonna explore more LP tokens and stuff like that, guys. So this is just the beginning of working with Olympus Pro. So, and thank you guys. Thank you, Tex. Thank you, Jeff. And thanks to everyone else who is here from Olympus DAO and all of you in the audience for joining us. And, and thank you for putting up with the audio issues. This is recorded, so anything you didn't hear will be, there. So you can listen to us all over again.
Absolutely. And yeah, as Troopy said, thanks to all. Appreciate your patience if you weren't able to get the audio. And look, if there are more questions in the AMA chat, we may end up doing a Twitter thing, maybe in a week or so. We'll see. We'll see how we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
looking
recording
forward
will
to it.
the recording will be published in by the end of the weekend.
I'm gonna put some music behind it.
Some people really like that, and some
Yeah.
people absolutely hated it. So maybe I need to publish 2 versions of it.
A lot of
Awesome.
podcasters do that, so maybe not a bad idea.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for having us.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
All right,
Happy,
and
happy
yeah,
bonding,
guys,
everybody.
definitely. And whoever needs to collab with me to get the power up out, yeah, I'm going to be around for a little bit. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming. And
Thank you very
all.
much.
Thank you. See ya.
What are you
When
still doing?
patron NFT? When patron NFT?
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say it right now that the deploy script is ready. The tests have been written. We
Oh
are
my
going
God.
to be doing it
Soon, Tim.
over the weekend. Hopefully,
Yes.
unless there's something that comes up. Hopefully, there's nothing that comes up. Fingers crossed. And build out the UI and have a claim page ready for early next week.
Yeah. No, definitely guaranteed 100% no sooner than Monday.
And this
Oh my God.
will
Possibly
have
after that.
metadata attached to it, giving reporting how much ETH or ALETH you returned or donated to Alchemix after the ALETH incident. So yes, and there are plans for this NFT to have a special function in the DAO. So that's all I'm gonna say about it now. But yeah. Don't want to reveal too much alpha right now. But yeah, thanks for waiting for the patron NFT. Sorry it's taken so long, but we've been crunching on V2. So I think that's a kind of a pretty good excuse, especially when the benefits of the patron NFT are going to be a little farther away. But still, shouldn't have taken this long.
Gorby, do you still need me to
put it in your
record, or-
hardware wallet. No, I think we're done.
Alright, cool.
Biddles, officially, please end the recording.
Done. It'll take about 3 hours to get to you.
Well, yeah. We'll sort that out over the weekend.
Yeah.
Good job, sir.
I thought it was awfully optimistic of you to assume that it would arrive before Monday.
Hey? What?
Saying when the recording would be out. I think it was very optimistic of you, based on what happened last time.
No, but we've learned from that experience, so it'll be all good.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to move this to general mixing so I can blow up this AMA channel and create a new one just in case it's broken the next time? I'm amazed there's so many people here still. You've got anyone who's here right now, you're gonna get the POAP, okay? You can go now. We're done. We'll see you in general mixing or Wizard Mayhem. Wizard Mayhem may have music playing, so you can choose. And by the way, if you don't like the background music, right click on the Zosimo's bot and either mute him or turn his volume down. Oh, Scoopy's playing music here. Good job. All right, we're going to close this, and yeah, we'll see you in the normal channels. Yes.